Hello, welcome to Calls with your Kinky Bestie. I'm Emma. I am a submissive and mentor for fellow kinksters. This podcast is all about insights into kinky life and dating, sharing my personal experience and stories, and help share mindset shifts too to get you into a confident space, more confident than you are now. So get ready. It all starts now.
Hey besties, before we dive into all things kinky dating, your questions answered, I'm just going to give a little preface for this episode because the layout's a little bit different. In this episode, I am responding to kinksters giving me their questions and their things that they want to know about kinky dating on Instagram. So I'm going to read their comment before I then speak my response. So it's clipped together like that. If you prefer to visually see the responses, you can absolutely get on my Instagram at Kinky Bestie. This was saved as a reel, it's like a highlight on my profile called Kinky Dating Q+A or something. So you can absolutely go back and watch those. That might be easier if you are listening to the episode recently. I don't know if this episode's a few years old, if it'll still be quite as prominently featured. But yeah, this is just setting it up in a way that can be listened to because the visual content is just me like talking at you. So I figured this would be another helpful way to absorb the information. So let's dive into it. 15 questions, like why people are stuck with kinky dating and how to get unstuck with those points. So in the first episode, the first segment of this, I'm going to share with you responses to questions about, well, how do you communicate your needs? How do you find people? How do you get over fear? What if your kinks are too strange? All that goodness. And really, we're going to talk about community and finding people a lot because this is a big theme that came up over and over and over again. So I definitely we're going to get that answer today for you in this lovely episode. So enjoy this one. And definitely, if you're not already, follow me on Instagram so that you can get in on fun stuff like this that I do sometimes. All right, enjoy. What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 1, finding a dom.
Yeah, this is the whole thing, right? So if you're not already, you have to treat it like normal dating. Like you have to set that intention of finding a partner and then start actively dating and meeting people. One thing that really helped me with this whenever I was, really wanting a dominant partner was learning a lot about my submissive identity and diving a lot deeper into that, because whenever I was able to get there more often, whether or not I had a dom, and I was just showing up in the world as a subby person, obviously still with my boundaries, I was still safe and not just submitting to strangers, but I was showing up as a submissive person with that energy. And so then they start becoming magnetized to you, and it's a lot easier to find them, even if you're searching in vanilla places. But also you can search in kinky places to speed it up, obviously.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 2. This person commented, kinky dates. It's hard to get authentic kinky partners here in India.
Kinksters are everywhere. There's not more or less, percentage of the population that's kinky depending where you live. It's going to be roughly the same everywhere because that's just humanness and sexuality and things like that. So start with that mindset of there are just, as many options available to me here as anywhere in the world. And what's tricky about this is when it's a cultural thing that there's, more sexual shame where you live. Obviously, the kinky people are still there, but maybe they're hiding because they're afraid themselves too. So to shift that, you have to start showing up as a person who's not scared of being perceived this way. So think about how you're going to show up as someone who is not scared to be perceived this way, like the public places you're going to be, how you're going to communicate with people. And as you're doing that and showing up in those places, the people who are in the same place of their journey are going to be there too.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 3, not knowing how to communicate my kinky needs.
So to be able to communicate what you want to others, you first have to understand and be really clear internally on what that is. So if this is where you are, I recommend going back to the internal intention setting phase and think about what is it that I really, really want? How do I want this person to be? And as you are getting clear on that language yourself, then you have it's all equipped and ready to go. This is also a great intention, like a manifesting exercise, being able to write out and speak out into the universe what it is you want and what you want to experience. And the more you practice that, it's going to feel more normal for you, and it's going to be easier for you to share it with other people.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 4. I like discussing what I'm into without engaging in any kink. First talk should be vanilla for me.
I tend to be the same way, especially when, this topic is kinky dating. So when you're trying to find a partner, outside of just kink, a partner, not just a playmate fun scene thing. That's what dating is, right? That's how I understand it. So you can absolutely build this into your process if you're aware of that. If this is the intention that you've set, is that you want to have vanilla conversations first and foremost, then think about the vanilla places that you want to show up. Think about, if you are going to kinky places, how you're presenting yourself in a vanilla way, or not in a vanilla way. But if you're on a kinky dating app, how can you set up your profile to be less centered on the kink and more centered on the vanilla stuff first that you want to discuss? And then, same thing with maybe going to play parties isn't going to be, how you can start having strong vanilla conversations all the time. So once you have that intention, then you can just go into the rest of your kinky dating process with that in mind and structure.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 5. I'm afraid of being targeted if I'm open about being newer or less experienced.
So without knowing exactly what it is that being targeted would mean to you and what you're afraid of, I'll say this. Focus your energy on the opposite. So if you're afraid of X and Y and Z happening, well, what do you want to happen instead? Put your energy into that and presenting as a person who gets that, and make that your focus instead. This is also a little bit of a catch-22, as I'm sure you know, because you can't become more experienced and less new until you're doing the thing. So you kind of just have to do the thing to get over that hump. Fear is a helpful tool. If it helps for you to break things down step by step and just focus on the next thing that you can do instead. And creating really positive experiences for yourself is going to be super important too. So if you're not already, do some solo scening of exactly what it is you want to experience, just by yourself at first.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 6. Fear.
So fear exists. It's going to keep coming up until this new thing is normal for you. As long as you're expanding your bubble and trying new things, you're probably going to feel fear around it. But here's what I'll say. So fear is when you're doing something in the moment of doing it and you're feeling that fear response. So that's good if you're still doing it anyways. Yay, good for you. That's an amazing step. And sorry you're feeling fearful about it. The more you do it, it starts to get normal over time. So the fear might lessen, or even eventually go away if it becomes really fucking normal for you. So if you're feeling anxious, meaning that you're worried about something before it's going to even happen, you're kind of making up stories about what will happen, or just, predicting or something like that, try to break it down step by step. So instead of being afraid of the whole picture, think about what's the very next thing I can do and just focus on that and getting over the fear and doing it. And the Kinky Dating course is an amazing resource for breaking things down step by step. Because I take the whole process and literally break it into what's the very next thing you can do, guided prompts to take you through it, why it's important, and basically just holding your hand and laying out a process for you. So if that's your thing, do it.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 7. I think my kinks are too strange and I'm not sure how to tell someone that I'm kinky.
It's okay to think your kinks are strange, because that's kind of the whole point of kink, is that these are taboo, outside of the norm things. So yes, you can perceive it as strange in your head if you want. But if you're thinking you're too strange, meaning there's no one for you, I'm too, I don't fit into any box or whatever, work on that, work on normalizing that, work on like really practicing your kink a lot, even if it's solo, so this starts to become, you know, like more normal. And as far as telling someone that you're kinky, I recommend just going to kinky places and being around people, like even if it's like, you know, finding like a bestie one-on-one who's also kinky, like even if you're not starting in a dating context, just like how can you find community in kink and other people, so that you see that like this is a thing and it's okay to talk about, and being in those places, rather than, you know, you don't have to start in a vanilla setting and like out yourself. Like that's fucking scary and could be rejection.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 8. Finding a good femdom near me.
Okay, there are a lot of kinky people, like a lot. And I'm gonna say a number, but don't take this as a statistic because I can't find it anywhere, and I heard this years and years ago. But okay, so I heard once that for every like one post there is on the internet, there are 10 people, let's just say 10 people who are like consuming things but not posting anything. And, you know, you could think about that even in your daily social media use, like how many days are you just watching things versus the days you're actually posting. So there are a lot of people who are interested in this thing, but just are doing it below the surface. And that like every one poster versus 10 people consuming, let's just say that's just for normal shit. Like that's just for people posting about their dogs versus just liking dog posts. So when we're talking about things like kink that are like, you know, there's just this inherent shame around, think about how many people below the surface are really interested. So continue to have that mindset that like when you're in a kinky place or on a kinky dating app, you know that for as many people are in this room, there's 100 times more people in the surrounding area or whatever who have these same interests, who are just too scared to be in this room or just aren't in the room tonight. But they will be in the future, so keep that in mind, that it's not that kinky people like aren't out there, they're just like working up to this point. And so you, my lovely dear friend who wants a femdom, where are the places that those femdoms are going to be now? So think about like how you are presenting yourself as a subby person, and just increasing the amount of time that you're doing that, so that you can even be consumed and perceived that way. Because you have to like, you know, post about it that one time for 10 people who are into the same thing to even like and find you and see that you exist. So think about that.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 9. Not being able to find a place to go for it.
So they do exist. The places do exist. There's different levels of this. So first there's like the global or like international or just even nationwide level, where you're looking at like online only events, which you can find on all the kinky places. FL is a good one. So there's going to be online places for like everybody that exist. There's also going to be in-person places for everybody that exist. So think about huge events like Capcon is coming up. That's an event for ABDLs to get together that travel from all over to just one part of the US to just all to get together and be in one place. So there's that level. And then when you're looking at the local level, it's the same thing. So there's going to be digital events that are local to you, like Zoom calls kinds of things. There's also going to be in-person events local to you. Find these all online at first. So on the local level, you'll have the online places like the online meetups that are just for people in your local area. There's the physical meetups, like the bigger events that happen. There's probably some that happen pretty frequently, but there might be bigger events that happen just like once or twice a year or something. I mean, I live in fucking Ohio and there's events, okay? Like it exists. And then those are just the places that are posted online. So there's like a whole other below the surface that's going on too, of just, you know, people who have kinky friends and send out a little text to the group chat and they get together and have like, you know, they create community together and are doing something that way. So you can usually find like ways to get in on that group, in on those group chats if they're bigger ones online. Like look at your local kink groups that exist and like think about all the things that are happening below the surface with that. But also just whenever you find kinky people and make kinky community in whatever these places are, then you're gonna find out about all these events / are creating them at the same time. So it already exists. You just have to go in those places to find them and then, you know, actually go to the events. But also the other option, B, is that, you know, you can create events. So if you want to live in a community where people have large get-togethers, you have to have that, all you have to do is be the person who sets up those large events that people can come to. Or if you want to be in a place where there are like smaller, more intimate, like house party type of events, great, you can have that. Become a person who hosts little house party get-together spaces. And think about like creating spaces in your own home for you too. So like, how can you set up your home to be like more, like just set up for your lifestyle and the things that you're interested in? Like I'm working on turning my bedroom into like a dungeon for littles. So, you know, find it exists, and you can make it. You can have both.
What's keeping you stuck with kinky dating? Topic number 10. Not finding a safe space to talk to others about my kinks.
Do you have any places where you feel safe to chat about kink now? Or do you have any places that you feel safe to talk about other things in your life? Think about what that is, answer that question, and then start like writing out, observing, whatever. What are the elements of that make you feel safe there? And then once you have that list of characteristics, like maybe it's knowing that the people that you're around have the same interests, like maybe that helps you feel safe somewhere. Or maybe even like sensory things, like you prefer like quieter spaces or different types of social settings. Like literally write out what that is, and then set out the intention to find those characteristics in a place. And then, you know, you can probably find something that meets the match, or at least quite close to it. Also think about if there are elements of safety that like you can present with. Like if you do a certain thing, you know you're gonna feel safer somewhere, think about what that is too.
All right, I hope that was super helpful for you. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to everyone over on Instagram who submitted those questions, so that, you know, we could all benefit from your answers. And yeah, again, if this is something that you're going through, if you're struggling through the kinky dating process, really trying to find your kinky partner, I've created a kinky dating course that you can get right now. It's like a pre-recorded course. I'm calling it Mentorship on Demand. Usually I do like one-on-one live mentorship calls where I'll answer people's questions, you know, and coach them through a topic. But some of these topics are just so popular, they come up again and again and again, and kinky dating is definitely one of them. So this is the first Mentorship on Demand course I've created. I hope you enjoy it so I can keep making some more. They're over on my website. It'll be linked in the lovely show notes here as well for you, so that you can go start the course. Let me know what you think. And stay tuned for next week, where I'm going to answer the last 5 questions that we got around this topic as well. Next week is going to be more about like using kinky dating apps, and like what to do if you have like, you know, if your life isn't set up perfectly for it, if you've got things like chronic illness, all sorts of fun stuff like that. So if you prefer this podcast format, it'll be out next week. But this week, if you are just wanting to dive into those topics right away, you can actually go over to my Instagram at Kinky Bestie and see the whole reel highlight, and you can sneak ahead and see what those other questions are and their answers before joining the course. And I hope to see you there. All right, bye bestie. See you next week.
Thank you so much for joining me this episode. You can follow the podcast on the platform where you're listening to get updates with new episodes. You can follow me on social media at Kinky Bestie. I'm on Instagram. You can also check the show notes for any links or resources that I talked about in this episode, or just more ways to connect with me. And please share this with your kinky friends who could benefit from this type of content. There is also an option for each podcast episode to engage with Q&As or polls. So I'd love to hear from you and create future episodes around what you want to chime in with. So please check those out in the show notes too. And I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.